Off Script with Super E recommends listener discretion as these real but sometimes uncensored stories can be filled with mature content. Hello everybody, Jay here. I've got another Off Script with Super E coming to you live from 3 different studios. I'm at my home base. A-Train is at A-Train Studios. A-Train, say something.
Everything is fantastic here at A-Train Studios. Everything's great.
Great. Do you have your engineer in the other room, producers, and been get any more visits, nasty emails about our content?
No, we haven't gotten any more emails from HR. So I guess we're doing good.
Good. That's always good. You know, sometimes we got to keep him on a leash. Speaking of Super E, say something.
How's it going, Jay?
It's going great.
All right.
Better. Well, yeah, it could. If I was retired like you guys, it could be really good.
Soon. Very soon.
Oh, coming to the theater near you. My goodness.
Yes.
I'm telling you. All right. Well, I understand you got a good one for us, Super E.
Yes, and I'm going to get us right back on HR's radar again with this story.
Oh, great.
No. I will keep it above board. On this one, this is one where I had to think outside the box, and I got a lot of help from my intern Ben on this. You guys remember me talking about my intern Ben?
Oh yeah.
Yep. Summer 2010. Big T got me this intern to work with me, and Big T, we all know, well, you guys repeatedly call Tom. Big T got me this intern that was just great to work with.
Hey,
and here's
Hey, Jay, did you ever have an intern?
I never had an intern.
Me either.
I know.
Super E had an intern.
Right. Well, of course, because he is Super E.
That's like it's like when Kramer had the assistant kid making all his appointments.
Yes, Cray America. We put mustard and ketchup together.
See, I was picturing that too. We were all on the same, different parts of the state, and still on the same.
Yes,
exactly.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
This intern was fantastic because I don't want to go back down that tragic tale of going through chemotherapy, but I was going through that, and Ben was unbelievably helpful, and we were like an investigative team, almost like with A-Train and Jay. And one of the guys in the office got a call from one of the sex crimes investigators, and this detective told one of our guys in the office that she had a suspect grandfather that had molested his daughter 30 years prior, and now and nothing happened of it. I guess I don't know what happened, but there was no investigation, and he got away with it. Well, now he was molesting his daughter's daughter, so he was molesting his granddaughter. And the sex crimes detective told one of the guys in the office, I can't do anything with this guy because he claims he's in a wheelchair, and he says that his left side is paralyzed, and the prosecutor is not filing on the guy because it'll be too hard to prove. But she goes, I suspect that he's lying and he can actually walk. And she was wondering, can you guys get down there in an undercover capacity and somehow videotape this guy moving around walking without the aid of a wheelchair?
Mm-hmm.
So the detective, he went down there, and the guy lived where the guy's house was. You really couldn't get close to videotape him or anything, because obviously you would stick out and he would see something was suspicious about a car parked anywhere around his house, because it would be out of the ordinary.
Right.
And so the detective says, I couldn't get anything, but I think I saw him walking around out on the porch for a second. So I guess I can testify that I saw him walking. And I said, how far away were you? And he goes, like 50 yards. I go, that wouldn't fly in court. If this went to a jury trial, because you got to think, what's the jury going to think about this?
Right.
And the jury, they want to see on a video the suspect being able to walk to dispute his claim. They
Right.
want to see it. They don't want to hear about it. So I said, no, man. I said, let me get a try at it. So me and Ben, the intern, we plotted and schemed what we was going to do. So we did a little research on this guy, and he used to own like body shops and muffler shops and all this stuff. And he was into old cars, which played into my hands perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And so we all know he's a pervert. So I thought, man, we need a female for this, and hopefully a young female. And I had an idea. We need a young female who can drive. And I had a great idea. So I said, Ben, do you have anybody that you know that can do this? He was, I got a friend of mine from college. I've told her about our investigations that we've done, and she said she'd be interested in helping in anything. So we call her up and said, hey, we need you to help us on this. So she came down, and when she showed up, she was very nice, but she was kind of like in those, the teen movies where she was a girl that was real plain looking,
Mm-hmm.
like she was going to be a librarian or something like that.
Right.
And I was like, this ain't going to fly. She had her hair pulled back into a bun.
Mm.
It was like she should put knitting needles in it. And she just looked kind of, what's the word? Dowdy, frumpy or something like that.
Okay.
And I tried to put it as nicely as possible. I said, for this situation, we need you to look. And she goes, what kind of way is that? I go, unbelievably skanky and hot. And that's, can you pull that off? And it was like, all of a sudden there was a wind machine going, like a white snake wind machine going. And she pulls her hair out, and she, shakes her head, and all this long, beautiful hair falls down. She rips off her shirt, and all she has is a very skimpy tank top on, and she tied it so her cleavage was almost under her chin. And then she rolled up her shorts so they look like, like Daisy Dukes.
Uh-huh.
And as she was doing this, I just heard that music, bam, 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 you hear. And I was like, holy shit, transformation took like 5 seconds. She went from being somebody you really wouldn't pay attention to holy shit. And so we met down at the one restaurant that was right down the street from me. They served root beers and stuff. So A-Train knows what I'm talking about. Root beers and tenderloin. Does that ring a bell?
Those tenderloins are so good.
Yeah, so we staged in that parking lot. I brought my unbelievably sweet 76 Chrysler Cordoba 400 big block 4-barrel carburetor. And I gave her what?
Fine Corinthian leather.
Yes.
Cordoba.
Yes, dude. And so we loaded it up with, we put a couple of video cameras in it. And then so she was able to take some videos too. And we put her in the car, and I said, all I need you to do, because she was nervous. What do I say when I just knock on this door? I said, all you say is this the house that are selling the 70 Plymouth Roadrunner? That's all you say. She goes, well, I just say what I say. Okay. She goes, okay. So she's looking extremely attractive in an unbelievably cool car. And she didn't hesitate. She was very brave. God bless her. She rode right up to this dude's house, the suspect, the grandfather that's molesting his granddaughter, and they can't prove anything about it because he says he's in a wheelchair. And she just walks up, knocks on the door, and me and Ben, we're trying to get close enough to snap pictures. And she knocks on the door, and this old woman answers the door. She goes, hi, I'm here to look at the 70 Plymouth Roadrunner you guys are selling. And the old woman automatically goes, Mike, got somebody here for you. Suspect walks up to the door. It's a screen door. He doesn't come out, but he walks up, and she's talking to him about the road. He goes, man, I don't have a Roadrunner. Well, my boyfriend said there's a Roadrunner here, and he wanted me to come and get a look at it, see if it's worth buying or something. So they're talking about the Roadrunner, and me and Ben are trying to get pictures as we're driving, trying to take pictures. And every time we try to, get close enough to take a picture, a car would be coming up behind us, honking its horn. Mm-hmm. So we would have to move. So we couldn't get any good pictures. And then we looked at the video, and it was like that she had, and the screen door, you really couldn't see him. You could hear his voice, but you couldn't see him. And again, I had to go back to what would a jury think? And the jury, they'd probably, nope. If they saw this guy in a wheelchair in the courtroom and they saw that video where the screen was kind of darkening the image so you really couldn't tell who it was, I said, we can't hang our hat on that.
Right.
So I said, we got to go back up there again. We regrouped and waited a couple days. And then I got this girl that Ben had. She wasn't available because she had to go back up to college. So I got my handy helper, MJ, who worked with A-Train and Jay numerous times. You guys remember MJ, yeah, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
MJ, very attractive. We said, here's what we're going to do. I also had a 65 Chrysler New Yorker that I got for my son. And so what we did was me and MJ jumped in this Chrysler New Yorker and we drove up to the guy's house, and we both had audio and video recording devices on us. We also had somebody with a long range camera lens down the road that if he did come out of the house, we would have that to back up whatever our small recording devices had, because they're not as reliable as you want them to be, but they're still
the covert cameras.
Yeah, they're really small. But if they work, you never go to trial because they plead. But if they don't work, you got nothing. So I had to have somebody far enough away with a long lens who could videotape this and take pictures.
Right.
So I'm hoping, please let this guy step out of the house. Please let this guy step out of the house. Now, if you guys remember, MJ, very attractive. And she was dressed just like the previous girl was that Ben had help us. And I'm going, please, God, please, God, please. Because the mother was very distraught. My girl, she bought just that 70 Roadrunner. And as soon as I said that, he looked at MJ and he was already smitten. Yeah, he comes flying out that door. I'm thinking, he doesn't need a wheelchair and his left side is not paralyzed. And he comes flying out, and I said, yeah, man, I just bought this Chrysler, work on it. He comes flying out, pointing out hey, you need to do this on this car. And he's moving his left side and right side around. And he's talking all tough in front of MJ, talking about, this is what I do for a living. I repo cars, planes, and trains. I was like, that sounds like a movie. And he's talking all big. So he does all this stuff that definitely shows. On video, all the videos worked. And when I sent it into the sex crimes detective, all these videos, she called me up and was like in tears, crying because she was so grateful that I had the evidence she needed to file charges against this guy, because they were getting ready to drop the case. And, this little girl, I don't know if she would have been kept getting molested, but, there would have been no justice for her or her mother, because I guess it was extremely traumatic what this guy did to her.
Wow.
So when I took this to the sex crimes investigator and she was crying, she showed me the video of him doing the interview with her when he claimed to be in a wheelchair. This dude, no jury would have convicted him because he was so convincing that he was paralyzed on his left side from a stroke and that he was in a wheelchair and there's no way he could have molested his granddaughter. Again, I bring this up. He looked and sounded exactly like Larry Flint sitting in that wheelchair. Can you talk like this? And, I can't even wipe my butt. And I was like, there's no way they would have filed nor convicted him. But with the information we gave, the sex crimes detective, she was able to get the case filed. And then she handed me the warrant and goes, will you give this to the uniform officers to lock him up? And I was like, yeah, but if the uniform officers go knock on the door, he's going to be in that wheelchair. And it sounds like a theme we had from the last episode, but he's going to be in that wheelchair and they're going to have to carry him out. What we're going to have to do is I'm going to have to get him outside again and then have the police pull up so he can't use that ruse of a wheelchair.
Right.
So again, me and MJ go down there in the big old Chrysler. And this time, I guess he was thinking about things. He's like, this good looking girl comes to my door. And then this long haired Bigfoot comes to my door with another good looking girl. He was kind of wondering things. And so I come up to him and I knock on the door and I said, hey, man, can you show me more about that body work? And he's coming outside and he's kind of looking around because he can smell a rat, but he just can't control himself with MJ there. He has to come out. He has to talk to her. So we get him outside and he's standing, it's like about 30 feet from his house looking at the car. And what I had planned with the uniform guys come flying down the road, pull behind the big Chrysler because I'm going to park it near the street, kind of away from his house. So it looks like you're focused on that car and me. And then, we will get him. And so how we operate was uniform guys come flying up and they see me and they grab me and hey, you're a suspect, and driving away from the gas station down the road without paying. I said, no, it's not me. I paid. And I pretended like I showed him a receipt. And I could see our suspect standing there with MJ. And he goes, man, I'm glad they're not messing with me, because MJ was going, why are they messing with him? I'm glad they're not messing with me. And right when they said, okay, it looks like you have a receipt, they immediately turned around and looked at this guy and go, oh, by the way, sir, we have warrants for 2 counts of child molest. We're arresting you right now.
Nice.
And the guy tried to do all of a sudden he got the Jimmy legs, like, oh, Fred Sanford, Elizabeth, I'm coming to greet you, meet you. He started shaking and wobbling. I can't walk. I need a wheelchair. And I said, but right now, we've got you on video. We got you covered all the way around. You can walk. Stop it. And he was like, oh, okay. And I'll stop. And put him in cuffs, took him down. Sex Crimes was thrilled. And come to find out, this guy was getting disability from the government for 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, man, he's really in trouble now. But he ended up pleading guilty, I guess he got a lot of years. And so everything came out like we had hoped for. Sometimes you get lucky. If you think outside the box, work hard enough, and do your best, sometimes you can get justice for the victims out there that you want to.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's a good job, Super E.
Gracias, A-Train.
I'm proud of you.
Jay, did you ever have any of those where you was trying to, build a probable cause and it's just, he didn't have enough facts?
Oh yeah, I always had that. And so I have questions about this one. What exactly was it that, if you're molesting a child, what did being in a wheelchair have to do with the case? That's what I'm trying to wrap my head around. By the way, that's some great police work on your part, some great UC stuff to get that.
Here was the sticking point. He claimed that he was paralyzed on his left side from a stroke. So he made it look like his left arm and hand were withered. I mean, it actually looked like it. But
molesting family.
Here was what the accusation was: that he was standing up and would lift the little girl above his head and then lower her down to do a sex act.
Okay.
So he was standing up, lifting her up over his head, and that's what he would say. He goes, "Oh, I couldn't have done that. I can't even lift my arm or wipe my own ass." Right. And so that was the facts, and that's how he was disputing it. And this case wouldn't have went anywhere without that video of him standing around pointing at the car with both his right hand and left hand and acting extremely arrogant about how tough he was as a repo man and all this. So that was what put him in prison.
So you've got a molester, which wife is obviously probably backing up his story over her daughter and granddaughter, which unfortunately is not uncommon.
Does that happen a lot?
It does. You'd be surprised that wives, girlfriends, they'll it it's gross to be quite honest with you, how they will defend these guys knowing damn good and well what they're doing to their own children. It's
Uh,
it you know, the when you look at like a molest or a homicide of a child, you know, look to the boyfriend, go to the boyfriend, and 9 times out of, well, not that many, but a lot, you'll see, oh, yep, he, guess who was babysitting, you know,
right.
at work, and guess who was babysitting? You guys know this.
It's like
Right.
the prosecutor was like, okay, the jury's not going to believe anybody after watching this video.
Mm.
That was the thing. It
He
was
was
the
so convincing.
he was so convincing, right, A Train. He was so convincing that prosecutor felt like nobody's going to believe that he was able to lift up a 6-year-old girl or 9-year-old girl above his head to do whatever sex act he did on her. And, you know, because it looks like he can barely do anything. He's only got use of one hand.
Yeah. Right.
And so,
He's
so
got,
the fact that the little girl was saying didn't match up with what he said he could do physically.